All right, fourth grade friends, we're going to try recording this way today because something's going on with Google like we saw. So we're going to try it this way. Our chapter 14 page we'll go over and then we will read 15. Sound good? Yeah. All right, let's look at the compare it. How has Marty and Judd's relationship changed in the last two chapters? So think back to like 13 and 14. How has it changed from 13 to 14? How has it changed? What do you think, Amelia? So Judd wants more money for Shiloh. Good. So we know about Judd's now. He's like kind of being a little willing, but he wants more money. What has happened with Marty's side of the relationship? What's happened with Marty's? Zach?
I haven't had for both.
Yep, go ahead.
Both look out. Like, usually if my Marty tried to have this talk with Judd would be like, no.
Marty and Judd are coming to an agreement. Think through Marty's traits. How has Marty changed in this last chapter? Think about Marty from the beginning of the book when he was around Judd to now. What's happened, Brian?
Like, in the beginning of the book, Marty was like a little scared of Judd and he didn't want to talk to him and stuff. But come to this chapter, he like kind of like confronted him in like a forest, and he said that he was like taller than Judd.
Yeah, but now is confronting. I love that word. He's confronting Judd, and that example, is on point. He feels taller than Judd. Way to go, Ryan. Snaps for Ryan, feeling taller than Judd. Maddie, what do you got to add to that? Can you say that last part a little louder? He's kind of grateful. Do you think Marty better understands Judd now? Do you think so? I see a lot of nods. Yeah, I think so too. Remember when Judd explained his childhood? Do you kind of understand why Judd's acting the way he is now? Yeah. Does it make his actions okay? No, but does it make sense why he is doing what he's doing? Yeah, it does. Good. All right, you needed to come up with 4 character analysis. 4 adjectives to describe his character traits. What did you come up with for Judd? What's 1? Holly?
He was, in the first part of the chapter, he was kind of mad, but when he saw, Marty, it was right there.
He was a little mad. What else do you think he was feeling? Remember, his jaw kept doing something. It would drop. How would you describe that trait then? Alicia?
Disgusting.
Maybe disgusted or shocked. Or shocked. What else might we say to describe Judd? Amelia? Sorry. Rosie, sorry. Amelia, if you got one, we can share after, okay?
I think that he's being a little bit nicer, but, he's still pretty mad.
Slightly nicer, because, right, he could just be like, no, it's my dog.
Oh.
He could just say, I'm going to keep it.
I accept
All right.
that.
Rosie?
It's kind of going off a relationship, but in the book, it always says he spits out, vodka to girls.
So kind of gross, because he's spitting tobacco.
Tobacco's not very good.
Tobacco is not good for you. Don't ever do anything with tobacco in it. It's not good for your body, and it just makes your teeth all gross too, and it harms you. Tobacco's in cigarettes, but you can have tobacco just by itself, but it's not healthy. You're just putting a whole bunch of straight junk in you. Do you know what's in tobacco?
No.
A lot of tar, so what's on roads, and then what else? It's a bottle about this size of straight tar in a pack of cigarettes. So about the size of my container of straight tar and cigarettes and a whole bunch of other just nasty stuff. All right, let's move on. Come back to Judd. What else would you say to describe him? Lizzie?
Brave because like he's not even scared if like Marty gets the game warden.
He's kind of brave, right? He's like, I don't care, go get the game warden. Like, he's kind of just like, has that brave face. Nice. Adam?
He's kind of like the Grinch because he was like really mean, he was wild, but now he's kind of like being a little nicer like the Grinch.
Kind of like the Grinch. He's a little Grinchy. He kind of goes through those changes like the Grinch. Way to connect. Good connection there. Thomas?
He's kind of unfair, but he's making Marty work for 20 hours only.
20 hours for $2, right?
An hour just to get the dog and try those before Marcy's game. Trial wasn't that good.
Yeah, so it's not very a fair trade. It's kind of unfair. Brooke, what else?
Either one of these two, more like a criminal or a killer. What? I mean, he killed the deer.
But that's not.
Could we say he's a hunter?
Yes.
He's a hunter.
I mean, like,
He is kind of, how is he kind of criminal, though? How is he kind of criminal? Alicia, how is he kind of criminal?
He does it out of deer season.
He does it out of season, right? He doesn't do it when he's supposed to. Maddie, what else?
He's kind of selfish.
He's why do you say he's selfish?
He's like making him work for him, like making Marty work for him.
Right? He's thinking, what can I get out of this? Like, what all can I get out of this? Even with the deer, right? He's like, you help me move it, right? Everything was about him. Let's share one more. Claire.
He's kind of like following his parents because when he got on this now, he like follows his parents and does the same thing.
He's kind of a little bit of like a follower, right? He's just kind of going with the flow, like doing what he has known. He's not really trying something new. Good. I know there's a lot more. I don't have much more room though. So let's go down to the stop and jot. Is what Marty and Judd are doing wrong? Why or why not? Let's see. We need a yes, it's wrong, or a no, it's not wrong, it is right. Does anyone think it is wrong? Raise your hand if you think it is wrong. Lots of people. All right, Monica, why do you think it's wrong?
because like Marty's sort of helping Jake like kind of break the law, I guess. Because you're not supposed to like hunt deer out of deer season, and Marty's like still gonna let him do that. Like he's kind of like lying. Like
Yeah, remember Marty even kind of said, if I don't turn him in, how many more deer is he going to hurt, right? And he's broken the law, so I'm helping him break the law. He keeps going in that bad pattern, so he's helping Judd. All right, who else thinks that it is wrong? It is wrong. What else do you think? Holly, what else?
It's with Monica, but like Judd kind of said it's only this deer.
Judd was like, it's only this deer. Is it really only this deer?
No, Marty could tell the other deer.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe with another deer Marty could, okay? But so right now in that action he is wrong though, right? Okay, what else are you thinking for yes? So, Amelia?
It's kind of like Marty, so Judd's gonna get in trouble if someone finds out, and Marty's gonna get in trouble. So like they're both gonna get in trouble if someone finds out.
Everyone can get in trouble. Yep, because they're breaking the law. Kind of going off of Monica's. Zane, what are you thinking?
Yes, it is wrong because, like they said in the book, the deer can't produce for deer season if Judd is killing them all.
Yeah, so Judd's killing the female does, which makes it extra bad. All right, who thinks it is not wrong? No, it's not wrong. What he's doing is okay. It's not wrong.
serious.
Lizzie, what reason do you got?
I don't think it is wrong, but I think Marty should tell his parents because it might get serious.
Marty should. Why do you think it's not wrong, though? What else? What kind of goes with the why it's not wrong? What do you think?
That's what I think.
I know, so think through it, though, because that part, he should tell his parents. So if he tells his parents, is it not wrong?
No, that's still wrong.
Why could Marty think, or why could you think that this is not Ron? What do you think, Christian?
It kind of falls on both because it is wrong because Marty is helping Judd write things a lot, but at the same time he's trying to save the dog guy.
Yeah, right. Marty's still saving Shiloh, right?
But that's just like one of the many. Like as Dad said, like that's just one dog. Like, you're helping somebody break the law for like one dog.
For one dog, so that kind of
other dogs get treated like that.
yeah. Rosie.
This is kind of like there's some that falls under both, but then Judd's gonna think, if I ever get in trouble, I can get away with this kid because I can just say if I'll give you $20 to tell him that I didn't do it. And Marty may be like, well, it's breaking the law, I did it.
Are all decisions so easy, like a yes or a no? No. Do you think Marty's starting to realize that too?
Mm-hmm.
Not every decision is what we call black or white. Why do you think sometimes we say decisions are black or they're white? What does that mean? What does that mean, Adam?
Like one of them is like that's white and the other one is like way blue.
So you can clearly see the difference between them, right? Let's think about the colors black and white. Can you tell the difference between the black writing and the white page?
Yeah.
Sometimes we say decisions are black and white. You can clearly tell the difference. But really, decisions sometimes are kind of gray. What does that mean if they're gray? It's kind of a mix of that white and black where they're mixed together. You can't tell the right and the wrong. They're all kind of scooped up together and they make that gray color in your mind. Do you think Marty's decision is black, white, or gray?
Gray.
I think it's gray too. Maddie?
I feel like once he gets the dog, he's gonna feel really guilty, and then like everybody's gonna ask him, where did you get this dog? And then like he can probably have to tell a bunch of lies.
He's probably going to have to keep telling lies about how he got Shiloh. Oh, man, the spiral just never ends, does it? It keeps going. Brooke?
I think it's kind of like the black and white and gray.
Yeah?
Or it's like the white is Kevin, the black is, you know, the other side. I just don't want to say it.
Yep, so kind
And
of
the
like...
gray is mostly just this world because
Okay.
in this world you choose either that way, or both.
Okay. All right, are we ready to see what happens in chapter 15? All right. First, though, we got to go through our vocab words, right? Oh, my gosh. Oh, and a hush fell over the class. Our first word is margarine. Do you know what margarine is? It's a food similar to butter. You might have seen like commercials for it's not butter or whatever. I can't believe it's not butter. That's margarine. It's really similar to butter, but it's not made from cow's milk. Okay? Margarine.
That looks like butler from my angle.
Yeah, butter.
Yeah, it looks like butler. Similar to
Butter. All right. And then we have our next one is witness. A witness is a person who sees something happen. Okay? Like Marty was a witness to Judd shooting the deer, right? A person who sees something happen.
something's gonna happen.
You think something's going to happen again? How many more plot twists can we take? Oh, my heart.
A lot more, I guess.
Like the words. Why does this one having a life on it?
The words just kind of give it away. Oh, it's like Mrs. Wells wants you to start making inferences. No way. All right, next one is a big word called a wheatstone. Or sorry, not wheat, whetstone. A whetstone is a stone that you use to sharpen knives or blades. So you have a big like rock, and then you take like a littler rock and you put it on the whetstone, and then you sharpen like knives or blades or farming like tools.
That's what his next job is gonna be.
Remember, what does Judd want Marty to do? Yard work, right? Sometimes yard work requires tools, right? So it's not for like a knife to like, hurt someone with. It's a tool. Like that they use it on like farms or in yard work to help sharpen. Ryan?
I don't get why is Judd paying Marty money and then Marty's just gonna pay right back to him.
So Marty doesn't have to pay him back. That's why he's doing the work, is to like earn Shiloh.
So you have to do 2 hours every day for like, it's like $2.
But he doesn't have to give him money straight up.
I know, but when he's done with the work, why does he have to give Judd?
He doesn't have to give him
You
money.
don't have to give any money to Judd. It's like saying 2 hours equals 2.
That's like you doing chores at home. Instead of you getting the money, mom and dad might say, okay, I'm just going to buy you the Xbox.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So he's not going to give him money. He's just going to give him Shiloh in return. Does that make more sense? Okay.
It's like he's getting the money.
All right, and number 4 is kindling. Kindling is dry twigs. I made a mistake there. That's what the scribbled out. That's not supposed to be there. Dry twigs that burn easily and are used to start a fire. Okay? Kindling. You mostly use kindling when you are like camping or like out in the woods. Okay? You might need to use kindling if you have like a real fireplace in your house too. Okay? Alright. And then we've got summarizing we'll go through today. Character analysis. What do you notice about that character analysis box? Claire? It's blank. What do you think that means?
We have to do it.
You get to pick your own character at the end today. So start thinking through when we're reading, which character would you want to analyze? We got stop and jot and talk about it. Are we ready for the epic finale of Shiloh? All right. Unfortunately, 4th grade friends, I cannot turn my camera back on once I started recording to see me up there. So, my distance learning friends, I am sorry. You just have to listen to my beautiful voice. You don't get to see my beautiful face. My friends in class, so let's find chapter 5. 15. I'm glad you're paying attention. All right. Jingle. Jingle. Jingle all. Good. All right. So we last left, and Marty's kind of still worrying about if Judd would hurt him or Shiloh, right?
No, he's running home.
He's running home, but he's still in the back of his mind, right, worrying about Shiloh, right? All right, chapter 15. Closer I get to home, though, the bigger the grin on my face. And when I burst in the kitchen, I got a smile from ear to ear. Dad's having his coffee, and Ma's in the living room listening to the Sunday morning service by Brother Jonas. She watches him every Sunday at 7, which tells me what time it is already. So what time is it? 7. It's at least 7, yep. Where you been? Says Dad, and I can tell Ma's paying attention too. You up and gone? We got to worrying. I slide into my chair and almost had to push my cheeks in to keep the smile from going all the way around my head. Went to see Judd Travers, I say, still breathless, and I'm buying his dog. Ma gets up and comes to the kitchen doorway. What? Thought he wasn't selling, says Dad, looking at me hard. He wasn't, but I talked him into it. He needs help around his place, and he says if I work hard for him for 20 hours at $2 an hour, that will pay the $40 he wants for Shiloh. Ooh, that kind of answers Maddie's question, or Maddie's prediction, right? How's he going to explain? So all Judd needs is some yard work, right? Nice, Marty.
Found it in line.
Ma's smile getting broader by the minute. I don't believe it, she says. Shiloh's yours? Not yet, but he will be, and we don't have to take him over to Judd's. Before I can get the last word out, she's got her arms around me, squeezing the breath from my chest almost. I think Shiloh can smell Judd Travers on me. He can smell the deer's blood, too. I know by the way he sniffs my shoes. But finally, he just can't stand it no more. He's joyful I'm back, and he's licking me, welcoming me home. But Dad's still studying my face. I can't figure it, Marty. Judd seemed pretty definite about keeping that dog. What was said between you? I really didn't want to lie no more. If I tell Ma and Dad everything except about the deer, that's lying by omission. Ma says not telling the whole truth. If I tell about the deer after promising Judd I won't, Then I would have lied to Judd. Rather lie to Judd than my own folks, but I figure it this way. Dad wouldn't report Judd if he saw him shoot a doe at a season, because that's the way it's always been around here. That don't necessarily make it right, of course, but with him feeling that way, nothing going to change if I do tell him about Judd and the deer, and because I promised not to, I don't. Right now, the most important thing to me is Shiloh. Told him I wasn't going to give Shiloh back no matter what, I tell Dad. They are sure staring at me now, him and Ma. You said that to Judge Travers? Dad asks, scooting back in his chair. Only thing left to say. Only thing I could think of to do I hadn't tried already. Was going to tell him he could take me to court, and I'd tell the judge how he kicked his dogs, but didn't have to go that far. Guess he needs help around his place. Ma turns to Dad. You know, I think it's because Shiloh was hurt. I think he figures that dog's never going to be what it was, and that's why he was willing to let it go. He figured he got rid of a lame dog, and the best of the bargain, too. That's what I figure, I say. And at last, Dad begins to smile. So we got ourselves a new member of the family, he tells me. And that's about the nicest thing I heard said in this house in my life. Then Becky and Darlin wakes up, sad faced, 'cause they think we gotta take Shiloh over to Judd's. I tell them the news, and Darlin, she starts dancing. Becky joins in, whirling herself around, and then Shiloh smiling his dog smile. Everybody whooping and carrying on. Ma turns off the TV and makes waffles, with a big pad of margarine in the center on each one and hot homemade brown sugar syrup filling the plates. She even makes a waffle for Shiloh. We're going to make that dog sick if we're not careful. Now, all we gotta worry about is how we can afford to feed him as well as ourselves, Dad says finally. But there's food for the body and food for the spirit. And Shiloh, sure enough, feeds our spirit. We about pet Shiloh to death. Every time he turns around, someone's got a hand on him somewheres. I take him out for his first gentle run since he got hurt. And once up on the hill, him running free, the good feeling inside me grows bigger and bigger, and I have to let it out. I hunch up my shoulders and go, "Yee-ow!" Shiloh jumps and looks at me. "Yee-ow!" I go again, out of joy and jubilation, the way they do in church. And suddenly Shiloh joins in with a bark. A pitiful kind of bark. Like he's got to be taught how. But it's a happy bark, and he's learning. Only bit of sadness left in me is for the deer. Wondering, too, about whose business it is when somebody breaks the law. Wonder if Dad wouldn't never tell Judd no matter what he done. Bet he would. There's got to be times that what one person does is everybody's business. Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'm waiting on Judd's porch when he pulls up. All his dogs is chained out to the side of the house, and they get to barking like crazy. I don't try to get near them, 'cause a chained dog can be mean. I've already restacked Judd's wood pile, but he wants me to do it again. Put the big pieces here, the little ones there. He's looking mean and grumpy, like maybe he's disgusted with himself for letting me have the dog so easy. When I finish the wood pile, Judd hands me the hoe. You see that garden? I nod. You see that corn? I want the dirt chopped up so fine I can sift it through my fingers, he tells me. Now I see what he's getting at. He's going to make it so there's no way I can please him. I'll put in my 20 hours, and he'll tell me my work wasn't no good. He wants his dog back. I hoe till I got blisters on both hands, sweat pouring down my back. Wish I could do my work in the early morning before the sun's so fierce, but I don't complain. I take off my t-shirt finally, wrap it around my head to keep the sweat out of my eyes, and I keep on. Shoulders so red I know they'll hurt worse than anything the next morning, and they do. Next afternoon, Judd sets me to scrubbing down the sides of his trailer and his porch, shining up the windows, raking the yard. He sits on a folding chair in the shade, drinking a cold beer. He offered me nothing, even water. I hate him worse than the devil. My mouth's so dry it feels like fur. Third day though, he puts out a quart jar of water for me when I go to pick his beans. I bend over them rows so long, dropping the beans into a bucket, I think I'm going to be bent for life. When I'm through, Judd sort of motions me to the porch, like I can sit there if I want while I drink my water. I almost fall onto that porch, glad to be in the shade. Looks like you got yourself some blisters, he says. I'm okay, I tell him, and take another long drink. How's Shiloh? He asks. First time he's called the dog by that name. He's doing fine. Still got a limp, but he eats good. Judd lifts his beer to his lips. Would have been a good hunting dog if I could have just kept him home, he says. The other dogs never run off. I think about that a while. Well, I say finally, each one is different. That's the truth. Kick one and he just goes under the porch for an hour. Kick another, he goes off and don't come back. I'm trying my best to think what to say to that. Like, how come he has to kick them at all? Then I figure nobody likes to be preached at, no matter how much he needs it. Least of all Judd Travers, who is 30 years old if he's a day. Some dogs, it just makes them mean when you kick them, I finally say. Other dogs, it makes them scared. Shiloh got scared. Never beat my dogs with a stick, Judd goes on. Never did that in my life. I don't say anything right away. Finally, though, I ask, how your dog's doing? Raring to go out rabbit hunting, Judd says. We look over at his 3 dogs, all pulling at their chains and snarling at each other. That biggest dog now, Judd goes on, he is the loudest squaller I got. I can tell from his racket whether he's following a fresh track or an old one, if he's running a ditch, swimming, or tread a coon. That's pretty good, I say. Littlest one, he's nothing but a trashy dog. He'll run down most anything except what I'm after. Hope all the others will learn him something. And the middle dog, well, she gives a lot of mouth too. Even barks at dead trees. The dogs were fighting now, and Judd throws his Pabst can at them. Y'all shut up, he yells. Hush up. A can hits the biggest dog, and they all scatter. Don't much like being chained, Judd says. Guess nobody would, I tell him. I put in 10 hours that week, meaning I make up 20 of the dollars I owe him. Got 1 more week to go. When I leave of an afternoon for Judd's, Shiloh goes with me just so far that he gets to whining and turns back. I'm glad he don't go on with me. Don't want him anywhere near Judd Travers. Monday of the 2nd week, it seems like Judd's out to break my back or my spirit or both. This time he's got me splitting wood. I gotta roll a big old piece of locust wood over to the stump on his side yard, drive a wedge in it, then hit the wedge with a sledgehammer again and again till the wood falls apart into pieces that fit in his wood stove. Then another log, and another. I can hardly get the sledgehammer up over my head, and when I bring it down, my arm's so wobbly my aim ain't true. Almost dropped the hammer. This ain't a job for me, and if Dad saw what Judd was making me do, he'd tell him it wasn't safe. But Judd's out to teach me a lesson, and I'm out to teach him one. So I keep at it. No, it takes me twice as long as Judd to split that wood, but I don't stop. And all the while, Judd sits on his porch, drinking his beer, watching me sweat. Sure does his heart good, I can tell. Then he says something that almost stops my heart cold. Laughs and says, Boy, you sure are putting in a whole lot of work for nothing. I rest my back a moment, wipe one arm across my face. Shiloh something, I tell him. You think you're going to get my dog just 'cause you got some handwriting on a piece of paper? Judd laughs and drinks some more. Why, that paper's not good for anything but to blow your nose on. Didn't have a witness. I look at Judd. What do you mean? You don't even know what's legal and what's not, do you? Well, you show a judge a paper without a witness signature, he'll laugh you right out of the courthouse. Gotta have somebody sign that he saw you strike a bargain. Judd laughs some more. And nobody here but my dogs. I feel sick inside, like I could maybe throw up. Can't think of what to do or say, so I just lift the sledgehammer again and go on splitting the wood. Judd laughs even harder. What are you, boy? Some kind of fool? And when I don't answer, he says, What you breaking your back for? I want that dog, I tell him, and raise the sledgehammer again. That night, when I'm sitting on the porch with Mom and Dad, Shiloh in my lap, I check it out. What's a witness? I say. Somebody who knows the Lord Jesus and don't mind telling about it, says Ma. No, the other kind. Somebody who sees something happen and signs that it's true, Dad says, "What you got in mind now, Marty?" "You make a bargain with somebody. You gotta have a witness?" I ask, not answering. "If you want it done right and legal, I suppose you do." I can't bear to have Dad know I was so stupid I made an agreement with Judge Travers without a witness. "What you thinking on?" Dad asks again, hunching up his shoulders while Ma rubs his back. "Just thinking about how you sell something is all. Land and stuff." Dad looks at me quick. "You're not trying to sell off some of my land for that dog, are you?" "No," I tell him. I'm glad I got him off track. But I sure am worried. Every trace of that deer's gone now. Don't know what Judd done with the meat. Rented him a meat locker somewhere maybe. But there's no bones around, no hide. I report him now. I can't prove a thing. Next day, Judd Travers calls me dumb. Sees me waiting for him on his steps and says I must have a head as thick as a coconut. Didn't he already tell me that the paper wasn't worth nothing? I just look straight through him. "You and me made a bargain," I say, "and I aim to keep my part of it. What you want me to do today?" Judd just points to the sledgehammer again and doubles over laughing, like it's the biggest joke he ever played on somebody in his life. I can feel the sweat trickle down my back, and I ain't even started yet. 4 o'clock comes, and I finally finished all that wood, but Judd pretends he's asleep. Got his head laid back, mouth half open, and I know it's just another way he's got to trick me. Wants me to sneak on home, then I'll say I never kept to my part of the bargain. So I go in his shed, put the sledgehammer back, take out the sickle, and go tackle the weeds down by his mailbox. Work on them weeds a whole hour, and when 5 o'clock comes, I start back toward the shed. See him watching me. I walk over. "Sickle's getting dull, Judd. You got a whetstone around? I could sharpen it for you." He studies me a good long while. "In the shed," he says. I go get it and sit out on a stump, running the whetstone over the blade. "Past 5 o'clock, says Judd. "I know," I say. "I ain't going to pay you 1 cent more, he says. "It's okay," I tell him. Never saw a look on a man's face like I see on his. Pure puzzlement is what it is. Thing I decide on when I head for Judd's again the next day is that I got no choice. All I can do is stick to my side of the deal and see what happens. All in the world I can do. If I quit now, he'll come for Shiloh, and we're right back where we started. I don't want to make him mad. No use having a winner and loser, or the bad feelings would just go on. Don't want to have to worry about Shiloh when he's running loose and I'm at school. Don't want to feel that Judd's so sore at me, he'll think up any excuse at all to run his truck over my dog. Only sign in this world we're making progress is the water Judd puts out for me. This day it even has ice in it, and Judd don't say one more word about a witness. In fact, when I'm through working and sit down on his porch to finish the water, Judd talks a little more than usual. Only bond we got between us is dogs, but at least it's something. I decide to say something nice to Judd. Tell him how good looking his dogs are. Giving a compliment to Judge Travers is like filling a balloon with air. You can actually see his chest swell up. 40, 30, and 45, he says when I tell him about his dogs. Those are their names now? What I paid for them, he says. If they had a little more meat on their bones, I figure they'd be the best looking hounds in Tyler County, I tell him. Judd sits there, turning his beer around in his hands, and says, "Maybe could use a bit more fat." I nurse my water along a little too. "When did you first get interested in hunting?" I ask him. "Your pa take you out when he was little?" Judd spits. Don't know a man could drink beer and chew tobacco at the same time, but Judd does. "Once or twice," he says. "Only nice thing about my dad I remember." It's the first time in my life I ever felt anything like sorry for Judd Travers. If he weighted on a postal scale, would hardly move the needle at all, but I suppose there was a fraction of an ounce of sorry for him somewhere inside me. When I thought on all the things I'd done with my own dad and how Judd could only remember hunting, well, that was pretty pitiful for a lifetime. Thursday, when I get there, Judd's meanness has got the best of him again, because I can see he's running out of work for me to do, just giving me work to make me sweat. Dig a ditch to dump his garbage in, he says. Hold that cornfield again, scrub that porch, weed that bean patch. But close on to 5 o'clock, he seems to realize that I'm only going to be there one more time. I'd worked real hard that day. Did anything he asked and done it better than he asked me to. Well, one more day, Judd says when I sit down at last with my water and him with his beer. What you gotta do with that dog once he's yours? Just play, I tell him. Love him. We sit there side by side while the clouds change place, puff out, the wind blowing them this way and that. I'm wondering how things would have turned out if it hadn't been for that deer. If I just knocked on Judd's front door 2 weeks ago and told him I wasn't giving Shiloh up, what would have happened then? To tell the truth, I think Ma's right. Judd would have sold him to me by and by because of Shiloh's limp. Judd's the kind that don't like that in a dog. Same as he don't want a dent or a scratch of any kind on his pickup truck. Makes him look bad, he thinks. His truck's gotta be perfect to make up for all the ways Judd's not. The last day I work for Judd, he inspects every job I do, finds fault with the least little thing, keeps pestering me, making me hang around, do my work over. When it's time to go, I say, well, I guess that's it then. Judd don't answer. Just stands in the doorway of his trailer looking at me. And then I get the feeling he's going to tell me I can take that paper he signed and use it for kindling. Tell me I can call the game warden if I want. There's not a trace of that deer left. The 2 weeks of work I put in for him was just long enough for rain to wash away the blood, for the field grass to spring back up again where the deer was shot. He still don't say anything, though, so I start off for home, chest tight. Just a minute, says Judd. I stop. He goes back inside the trailer, me waiting there in the yard. What am I going to say? He tries that. What am I going to do? And then Judd's back in the doorway again, and he's got something in his hand. Comes down the steps halfway. Here, he says, and it's a dog collar. An old collar, but better than the one Shiloh's got now. Might be a little big, but he'll grow into it. I look at Judd and take the collar. I don't know how we done it, but somehow we learned to get along. Thanks a lot, I tell him. You got yourself a dog, he says, and goes inside again. Don't even look back. I get home that evening, and Ma's baked a chocolate layer cake to celebrate. A real cake, too, not no Betty Crocker. After dinner, Ma and Dad on the porch, the 4 of us rolls around on the grass together. Darlene, Becky, Shiloh, and me. Becky tries to give Shiloh her butterfly kiss, but he don't hold still long enough to feel her eyelashes bat against his. Just got a lick everywhere on her face. And long after Becky and Darlene goes inside, I lay out there on my back in the grass, not caring about the dew. Shiloh against me crosswise, his paws on my chest. I look at the dark closing in, sky getting more and more purple, and I'm thinking about how nothing is as simple as you guess. Not right or wrong, not Judd Travers, not even me or this dog I got here. But the good part is, I saved Shiloh and opened my eyes some. Now that ain't bad for 11. The end. So, are you shocked by Judd's trick in there?
Yeah.
A little bit.
He was just trying to make him do something.
What do we still notice? What has not changed about Marty in this chapter? What's something you still notice from the beginning of the book to now? What's something that Marty has not changed? What's something? He's still 11, yes. Monica? He still loves Shiloh. Let's be a little more broad. What else? Not just Shiloh. Monica, you want to modify it?
Yeah. He still lies, I guess. Alive? He lies.
He still kind of lies, right? He didn't tell Mom and Dad the whole truth. Brooke?
He's getting a more relationship with Judd.
He kind of, okay, but that's something that's changed. We want to think what stayed. What stayed? Alicia?
Still kind of dislikes him.
He kind of dislikes Judd, right? He's not going to be his best friend. What? Think back to Marty. Monica was on it, but she kind of got too specific. Think more broadly than Monica's. Holly? He still loves animals. You got it. What part of the deal did Judd leave out? What did Judd leave out of the deal? Micah? The witness, right? Why would he do that? Why would he leave that part out? Why would he leave that out, Maddie? What was it? Nah, maybe to make Marty feel bad, but why would he want to make Marty feel bad? What did it do to the contract?
Made it pointless.
It kind of made
It
it,
doesn't really matter at all.
right? It's not legal. Marty can take it, but does it make Shiloh his? No, Judd did it. Do you think Judd did it on purpose? Do you think so? I think so, he did. All right, I want to tell you something after we go through our last part of the book, okay? So, your homework is going to be to summarize this chapter for me. Tell me somebody, what did they want, what happened, the problem, so what happened after, and then how does the chapter end? Okay, we've done this before, right? Somebody wanted, but so then? Okay. I think you did it in 3rd grade. It's jingle, jingle, jingle all. Good. Next up, character analysis. There's no character. You can pick any character and tell me how they have grown or what they are like now in the book. How many adjectives do you need?
4.
At least 4. Stop and jot. What lesson do you think Marty learned? And then 3 comprehension questions for you. Can you put your pencils down for a second, though, because that's your homework? I want to tell you something awesome. How many of you liked Shiloh? Can you raise your hand if you like Shiloh? I've got fabulous news for you. There is a Shiloh 2 called, if you want to write this down, go ahead somewhere. It's called Shiloh Season.
And Saving Shiloh.
There is a 3rd one called Saving Shiloh.
Are you serious?
And just in time for the holiday season, there is a Shiloh Christmas.
That's 3 Are you serious?
There are 4 Shiloh books total, including Shiloh. We are not going to read them, but you can search for them in the library. We have library on Thursday, and you can search for them in a library, like a public library too. Micah.
Can we take a vote to change that to like maybe a movie? One of those?
We're already gonna. There's only one movie. There's only Shiloh, and we're gonna watch that on Thursday.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So that's what you got for homework today.